The game that we're working on, it's we call it a pandemic punk game, kind of horror, psychological horror. This idea comes from a book I wrote by the end of our pandemic, our quarantine.
In my experience, a lot of younger developers or even older developers that haven't necessarily done things on their own, they usually don't want to put even social media posts, not even talking about Kickstarter campaign.
So for me, a creative producer is someone who helps and tries to make their team, the people around them, come up with the most creative ideas and concepts and plans, and then help them see a way through.
Let's say that someone is interested in becoming a producer. How do you do that? Welcome. Today I have a pleasure to be here with André Osna.
Hey gang.
André has been working as a creative writer and producer for the last 20 years, spending most of that time in the animation industry, now moving into co-founding his own game studio. So I'm quite excited to talk with him about his experience. André, could you tell us a bit about yourself?
Hey, Vita. Hey everybody, thanks for the invitation. I'm André. Like you mentioned, I've been working as a creative writer for most of my life, really. I have a lot of experience with tabletop RPGs, which kind of connects my background in literature and my current gaming adventures. In the middle, I had a lot of time, like many years in the animation industry, which also helped connect things, as putting image to words is something that really helps with games. And yeah, it's been a crazy ride, and it brought us here making games.
Cool. So what made you decide to go into doing your own stuff, your own game? So I understand that's what you work on right now.
Right, yeah. I'm working on a game called Requiem. The name of the studio is Ignorantia. And it's actually, the studio actually comes as an evolution of a creative collective, also called Ignorantia, that came before. We were focused on tabletop RPGs. We released two physical books, and a bunch of digital materials through crowdfunding. We had a really cool community online, playing the games, giving feedback, watching lives, doing their own live streams of the game. And I don't know, I think the same kind of wish that got me from just the written word, because I do love writing books. It is something very dear to my heart to this day. But what got me from just writing to writing like just comic books for myself and my friends, and then into the animation, and really with the RPGs, kind of trying to give the artistic interpretation of what was being written for the player. I feel like it's such a natural need that keeps growing, to see the word being more visual, more interactive, more adaptable to what the player/reader is going for themselves. So yeah, I feel like it's kind of a natural path that got me from just writing to writing and seeing, writing and reacting, and now reacting even more with like the pixels and stuff.
Gotcha. So for you, it feels like a natural progression from, I wouldn't say passive, because still reading is pretty active, but going from sort of pure consuming to more interactive media.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's exactly it. That's something that we actually say in like the studio motto, or like manifesto, is that it's not stories made to be consumed. They're made to be lived. So I feel like exactly as you put, it's less of a passive. Again, it's not just passive, but still, like it's you're more in the control seat by each experience, by each iteration, and I love that.
Gotcha. Yeah, it feels like a lot more experimental games that are kind of moving in that direction. Just last night I played Slay the Princess. Have you heard about it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like that's also one of those very experimental games where it's like visual novels are getting mixed up with more interactive games. Dispatch now was pretty successful as well.
Totally. Yeah, totally. If you think about it, even like No, I'm Not Human has that element of just like interacting with people, seeing what they're all about through the dialogues, but then you have this extra mechanics, the extra weirdness, whatever it is, if it's superheroes or creatures from somewhere, like it's all that little twist into the way we consume narratives, for sure.
I have actually a idea that I have been proving for a while here, so I would be curious to hear your opinion on it. I tend to think that having all of this categorized under games actually hurts more than it helps. Because we have games like Detroit Become Human, like Dispatch, Slay the Princess, things that we would almost categorize like a interactive movies, that like let's say movies that have an options, but we all put it under games, which I feel like is a bit of a disservice to them because people that would be into this don't go into it because it's categorized as games.
Yeah, I feel like I totally get it, but I do say that cuts both ways in the sense of what's the pool of potential people interacting with this, and games are like just such a huge pool of people. We're all chronically online right now, we're all chronically on our devices and stuff, so I totally get what you're saying, but I feel like in when it comes time to bring something into the world, you kind of go broader, because then you find people who like games that are more interactive narratives and stuff, but you have a chance of like touching someone who wouldn't interact with something that is not a game. I feel like Disco Elysium is likely like such a evangelizer, like of games as narratives, because I feel like it kind of the reverse engineering of maybe a lot of people who would only go for games found out about this whole universe of like literary written games and more moral choices and less of more of a gray area of what is the protagonist and stuff. So yeah, I think I totally get it, but I feel like we're still trying to aim for broader and then finding our people inside and maybe surprising some people into something they didn't know they would like. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. It makes a lot of sense, and it does seem that at least for indies, for like a smaller studios and smaller creators, going broad and then niching down as you kind of identify that exact audience is the way to make it work, to make it financially work.
Totally. Yeah, and we know where we're aiming as small creators, so we do know like, oh, okay, I'm gonna shoot at this whole thing because I know I need this many from them, so it does help balance things.
Yeah, I feel like that's this being so close to the audience, to the people that actually play those games, is an advantage that indies almost don't take enough advantage of, because you obviously have a lot of disadvantages versus AAA versus bigger studios.
For sure.
But you being able to iterate so fast and being so close to the actual players, because there is fewer of them, but they are so much more engaged, is actually a huge advantage.
Yeah, for sure. That disconnects with a lot of topics we can talk about, like industry wise, but that for sure on the creative side, it's when you click with people, it does become a semi constant give and take. People they want to be heard. They want to let you know that something worked or didn't or why, or like, oh, I really wish I could see more of this thing of the game, and you're like, yeah, for sure. I don't have a whole triple A sized ship that needs slow changing. I can just get everybody on Discord, my whole team on Discord, and go like, guys, they just said this, it's amazing, and we can course correct. Of course, you always need to keep a little like sane about that, because you can go into a lot of problems, even just at least like scope creep that you want to keep changing, and it keeps like biting out of your time. But yeah, you're so flexible, and we do like you said, like it's a new game studio, but as people putting out creative things that are interactable and having a community, I feel like we got kind of good at it, at like accessing what people think about it, what could be cooler, what's connecting with them. Did you cry at some point? Oh, that's great, because that's exactly what we want to hear, so we need more of this. Yeah, for sure, it is an advantage for sure.
What you just touched on feels like it's quite a challenge. The idea of steering the wheel, going in some direction, but at the same time receiving all this feedback, because probably just applying everything that the players, gamers tell you is not quite right. So how do you try to find that balance?
uh I worked for a couple of years in like branding, or like corporate branding, and we always used to do like quantitative research and qualitative. So we have like a bunch of people telling us like broader things, and then we have this really laser focused people giving it the opposite side, which is like looking at something very hard and being very technical about it. So it's like QA and feedback. Those two are two like balls that you're juggling, and along with many many others, but those two are particularly connected. That like, oh, the audience is saying something in broad terms, in broad strokes. They want something, or they want, or it feels like every like the feedback as a whole kind of shows tendencies to this, and then you go for the QA and you're like, is it technically smart, is it doable, is it, is it on a more precise aspect, or a more scientific aspect, you might say, like, does it make sense, does it resonate, is it doable, is it feasible with money and time and all that. And then you have your actionable, it's a little of an equation. But I feel like they don't work without the other. Like, don't just put QA people on a sterile room and let them play as their job. You got to have the people playing at home with friends and seeing things in a very different angle than the pros are seeing. So I feel like those two really help each other out, make sense of each other.
What you are describing now sounds kind of like what the producer does. So I understand that you worked as a producer for quite a while. So could you, for someone, let's say, who has no idea what producer does, because I do feel that's somewhat of uh, a not quite transparent role that sometimes people don't really know what a producer does. So could you try to bring it closer?
Yeah, and it's not even just not. It's so pliable and flexible what it means, because there's so much context, like if you talk to an ad agency producer, they will say they do one thing. If you talk to an animation producer, they'll say their other thing. And game producers, I always try aimed at categorizing myself as like a creative producer. So my
Okay.
job is to help, sometimes come up with the creative seeds, but mostly help other people do their best creative work. And that's the creative head. And then the producer head is, how do we make this possible? What is the cr- the craziest, coolest, wildest idea we had, and how can we put this into a timeline? Who do we need? How much do we need? So for me, a creative producer is someone who helps and tries to make the team, the people around them, come up with the most creative ideas and concepts and plans, and then help them see a way through. Let's not, we say in Portuguese, die at the beach, which is like you almost got into the sea. Like, just don't let it die before the time. Like, how do we get it running? So the producer is usually the person trying to make the project make sense, like creating timelines, connecting everybody, also being kind of a foreman about like, hey guys, we need this by this day, please keep me posted. Let's do a regroup on Monday to see what worked, what didn't, how is our pipeline, how are our processes. So there is that aspect. And in many contexts, people will say that that's not a producer, but mostly it is, because you don't have all the beautiful shiny team you wish you had. So it's mostly a producer doing this. So it's a mix. In my case, it's a mix of like, oh, I spend the whole morning like getting lost into musical references with the soundtrack, a composer. But then I end the call by going like, okay, when do I see the next delivery? When is the version 2.0 of this going to be delivered, so we can put it on unit? Because then I need to connect with my partner who's the Unity dev. Like, is it working? Do we need something? So you're kind of a centralization point. So I feel like in games, it kind of blends with game director too, because you are making a lot of creative decisions, because you need cohesion. So I'm basically saying a lot about like, it's just being helping people create the best that they can do in smart ways, in a timely fashion, and within budget. You know.
The way you are describing it sounds almost like a team coach. Like if you have a sports team, then the coach is there to really bring the best of everyone, but still making sure that everyone is moving towards the right direction in the right
Yeah,
time.
I never thought about it that way. That has the a right ring to it. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe. You're their cheerleader and their enemy at the same time, because they're like, oh no, Andre's coming to ask me the thing that I forgot to deliver. Damn it! And he was so happy about the process, but now he was pissed because I didn't deliver on time. And I'm those two people most of the time.
Gotcha. So you gotta give them snacks, but you also gotta whip them sometimes if it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's the carrot and the stick for sure.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's say that someone is interested in becoming a producer. How do you do that?
Oh, it's a I would have such different answers a couple years ago, like before the creative industry. Anybody listening to this who knows the creative industry or wants to be in it or is in it for a while knows everything is kind of up in the air right now. Like so many studios closing, both in animation and on games, and huge ad agencies that were like industry leaders, unbeatable for decades, just like going for minimum teams and outsourcing a lot. AI is a scare, so people are not quite sure what the future holds for the human need. I'm gonna put it in these weird terms. I don't quite agree with how people are reacting, but sure. So it is a strange time. It is a this answer goes for most creative endeavor uh, positions, like work. It is a crazy time, but I would recommend finding people. It's easier said than done, but finding people whose work you like, and people who work in a way that you feel inspired by, not just the result, but the way they work, and the way people talk about them on, let's say, LinkedIn or an interview, and they say like, oh, this producer was amazing, I felt so encouraged, so empowered, da da da, and you go like, oh, that's the kind of producer I want to be. Shoot in the dark and try for a conversation, try to be in their awareness area. Like, I would say try to go for a junior or slash assistant position, but I'm not sure how those are right now. Entry positions are very hard right now, so that's kind of where I would go a couple years ago. But right now I feel like it's you need to differentiate yourself a lot to be noticed. So I'll take a step back and say, like, if you're a student, or if you're not like running to pay all bills and going nuts about like just keeping above water, do your own stuff. Like create the thing that you wanted to do. Find other people who want to be noticed for that. Like, you want to write, and a great but still undiscovered artist who wants to do the comic book that you want to write. Why not connect and do a crowdfunding and try to get noticed? And you want to do a game, find a good game jam, and like be the producer of a team, put the team together, because that's also sometimes what the producer does. They do put the team together for a lot of their projects. So start with that. Like, how would I get this project done if I had money? But you don't. So you need to choose from a pool of people who might be into doing the exact same thing, and like maybe getting some attention, getting some hype for that weird little game jam game that you did. And maybe the writer is a newcomer and you're a newcomer producer, and the artist still isn't somebody known. Like, get together, do an amazing game, do something that I think that the most poetic and most honest way to get all of this wrapped up is like, get noticed. How do you get noticed? Get noticed. Find a way to get noticed. Do something
Yeah.
crazy. Do something that no other team in the world would do this, because you found the right people. And as a producer, just by finding that, just by getting that stuff together, you already shown such promise. You know, if I see a game on a game jam that is amazingly done and it was done like for by 4 people, I put them on my internal watch list for like studios, small studios that would like to collaborate with, because damn, look at what they did, like that's the vibe. There's a vibe, there's an idea, there's an intention, there's the authorship, and they did it likely with no money. So like, hell yeah, what would they do with money,
Yeah, that sounds very accurate to me. Generally, if we have students asking either programmers or 3D artists, then what we always say is that what gets you hired in the game industry and in general the creative industry is your portfolio, is your work. If you can demonstrate your work, you will be able to get a job, but without an issue, really.
It is
It sounds very accurate that it would be the same for producers. It may be just because it's all of sort of a lot of soft skills, so it's kind of harder probably to demonstrate it. And for like a 3D artist, it's really easy to show how a good portfolio looks like. For programmer, a bit harder, but still you can find a way to show it. Sounds like it's gonna be much harder for a producer.
It is, but again, it's a game recognized game thing. So if I see a game well done and there is someone there that is not just one thing, or there are a bunch of things, or they're a producer, or there's usually someone I can kind of pinpoint and go like, oh, okay, this person knows their stuff, they got this working, they got this rolling. So maybe other people might not get it, but a producer goes like, okay, you know what you're doing, you're good at it.
So could you kind of try to pinpoint what is that something that you look for, that you recognize?
Yeah, it is a lot about soft skills. Like it's something that's hard to prove without that first conversation, that first like, hey, let's catch up and just talk about projects. I want to know about you, I want to know what you're doing. That's a good time to know their soft skills, because they'll interact with you in some level. But I feel like well picked, if I know somebody's a producer, something that I would consider a lot in the team is how well picked they seem. Like sometimes you get those little magical moments where you go like, the art and the game design and the soundtrack are all like just jamming so well together. That's usually a director or a producer, because it's not, I'm not saying there are people like Cardboard Computer from Kentucky Route Zero and people like that who they can do the whole thing. Like they're magically enlightened by something and they do everything and it's awesome. But it's, for me, it's usually there is a producer, there's somebody identifying this little precious nuggets, like, oh, this guy did this 2 soundtracks that nobody knows, but damn, they have like this vibe and this texture that I want for my, I don't know, my fishing in the sewers mini game that I want to do. And there's something about the greediness and the way this guy does music. And I saw this artist on ArtStation that has like just 50 followers, but damn, it has like this something that works so well that I can just picture the sound playing, and that's producing. I think you can compare in like the film industry with a casting director or a casting producer. It's like finding what would make the project better because of you, because of this person. And then comes some soft skills of like, how do I get this person on my side, because maybe I don't have a lot of money, maybe I don't have any money, so how do I show this guy in like Lithuania that me in Brazil, I'm gonna produce a game that, bro, if we get our thing together, our ideas, I know we're gonna put out something that is gonna get us noticed. How do you show this person this, and then there's the game plan itself, which changes a lot. Like maybe you need a cool pitch deck, maybe you just need a cool pitch deck with concepts, or maybe you need to get the dev on your side first and do a little demo so you can show to the artist. There's an equation that will present itself to you. You'll sweat it a little over it, polishing it and making sense of it, but there is that. I feel like in Crow's Requiem that was kind of the case. Like the first person was the guy who became my business partner, who's the dev. Like I can't do games without a dev, like a really good dev. So hey, dude, let's be partners. Let's do this together. Let's share the burden, share the glory. Let's go. And then we put a little something together to show to the 2D artists and the 3D artists, and then it's a mix and match of what do I need. And then, for example, like the guy who's doing our soundtrack, amazing dude, calls you. He found us on Instagram when we were just like teasing the idea of the game with some early arts and like super simple Adobe Premiere made animations. And the guy was like, hey, I really want to do the theme. And he has like a huge background. The guy is like super veteran, but he saw the thing he needed to see in order to kind of buy into the project before we even approached him. We were still going to look for somebody to do the soundtrack, and the guy was like, no, it's me. You want to do it with me. And it was. It actually was.
Sounds like putting things out. Really good idea. So kind of looking for people yourself and try to make it all together. Kind of remove the obstacles from the game
Exactly.
to go on.
Exactly.
So all of this you're kind of telling me. It sounds like you're trying to work on things that are relatively original. I suppose something that's not done normally. So could you try to describe what do you think originality means?
Yeah. Wow. Originality, I feel like it's such an elusive thing because it will change almost day to day, like stuff that especially right now, like stuff that you never seen or consider is popping up daily, especially with AI, like kind of quantum leaping us in a lot of areas. So the unpredictable is kind of becoming a norm. So I'll try to use my own example as a way to like illustrate the game that we're working on. It's we call it a pandemic punk game. It's a pandemic punk setting, world building, and genre, subgenre, so of kind of horror, psychological horror. This idea comes from a book I wrote by the end of our pandemic, our quarantine, because I thought it was such a momentous thing. Like, yeah, there is stuff that talks about pandemics. There's like that huge movie Contagion. There are things that talk about pandemics, but damn it, we never experienced one everybody at the same time. Like this will change us forever. This is I compare it. I remember comparing it in my head to like we're still doing World War II movies. We're still doing natural disaster movies, even if they don't happen all the time. Even if World War II was one war of many wars that we have, because it's things that really impact and kind of sip into our collective, you might call it subconscious or soul or whatever. Like it's things, and because it was happening to me as I was writing the book, I was like, I'm sure there's like likely other people in the world like trying to understand the pandemic through art right now during the pandemic. But this is my try. This is my until I see it, I have nothing to compare myself to, you know so it felt like such a oof, like therapeutical, but like heavy and strange, and but also kind of healing in the long run. But I kind of knew that it was original in a way. It was timely at the very least. So yeah, I feel like originality is it's being kind of attuned into what is, and trying to kind of, I don't know, man, because I feel like we process so much through art and creativity. Like I feel like that's our even people who think they don't like music are likely processing stuff through music and or movies or animation or games.
It sounds to me like what you are describing is some sort of a personal experience combined with a bunch of external stimuli, a bunch of things that are
Yeah, that
kind of
makes sense.
happening.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, for sure. I feel like it needs to be, it doesn't have to be something lived, but it needs to be personal. It needs to say something to you. You need to be able to reply to somebody, why are you doing this and not that? Like, why am I not doing cyberpunk? I love cyberpunk, but I think like we as a whole need to process a lot about the pandemic, and I'm just trying to do my little thing for the small amount of people, whatever it is that plays my game. I hope they come out on the other side a little more, I don't know, healed, or they thought about it, their experience, and what does it mean in the game, and how did that manifest in the game and through my choices. It is a very narrative game, so your choices will likely be saying stuff to you about you in a way, at least on a first run. So yeah, I feel like if it comes from you in a way, damn, that's like that is usually next level.
Yeah, it feels like that's fundamentally what art is, right? It's a form of communication. So you usually we consume art to understand some idea, to interact with some idea in some
Yeah,
way.
exactly. We're all processing stuff.
So a lot of the things we kind of talk about are borderline discussing funding. It sounds like producers deals with funding all the time. Whenever someone wants to create something creative, they have to get paid, ideally not starve. So I understand you have some opinions about funding in games. So could you tell me about that?
Yeah, I feel like it ties to the thing we were talking about like the industry scares. It is funding is has such a clear parallel with like the investment markets, in the sense of like the markets don't like to be scared because that investment go down. So it is kind of the same thing. I feel like we're living in kind of tumultuous, in a way tumultuous, not it's not that much to me, but I'll talk about it later. But they feel like it's tumultuous. VCs especially are kind of scared about the what it means for the future of the game industry, and that I was seeing that on animation too, and I hear it talked in movies and all that. So people are scared, and that creates kind of a chasm between realities that most, at least in my experience, like let's say A plus slash double A games fall through, which is like you're kind of stuck between local, at least from a Brazilian perspective, like you have a lot of local funding, local governmental funding, but they are very strict and small, and they take a lot of time to get it approved. It's a very bureaucratic process. Brazil is a bureaucratic country in general, but I feel like the whole world kind of is right now.
It's the same. I am in EU and it's I don't know if worse, but it's quite bad.
Yeah, so it's comparatively, for gaming costs, it's little money for a lot of calories applied to even try to get it approved. And then on the other side, you have this huge VCs and people going like, I don't want to do a game that is less than 1 million. Yeah, I get it, because you want to get at least 2 million in return, and then some royalty and stuffs, and then you want to be even more. You're already rich. I don't want to be an a-hole right now, but you're usually already rich, and you want to get a lot richer with one uh what used to be a bet, because every investment is a bet. There's no guarantees in investment of any kind. Let me be clear, no kinds. But they kind of expect you to come with an impossible to fail package, like, oh, I will give you $1 million if you already have at least 100,000 wish lists on Steam, and your community online is at least 1 million people, and you have a celebrity on your team, and they come with a list of demands to try to take the bet out of betting. That, why do I need you exactly if I had all that? If I'm a Brazilian team of 5 people trying to make a game for, let's say, $50,000, I think it would be kind of most of our budget for 1.5 game, perhaps. Why would I try to prove? How can I? It's not even a why. It's how can I prove the track record for a big VC or for a big like a big publisher or something like that, then I don't need you, because the indie industry is maybe the one that is actually growing year by year. It's getting more awards, it's getting more results, it's selling more copies, while a lot of AAA are like just not delivering on commercial, on creative, on many sides. They're not delivering. People are kind of tired of that, and indies keep just delivering hits and bangers all the, like every year you have a list of like incredible indies. But VCs and like I'm not just VCs, because VCs have the capitalist in the name, so they are looking for something very specific, but funding in general seems to have lost sight that most teams don't need not even $100,000, especially because most of us are not in the US. Most of us are not in London or in San Francisco or like in the biggest, most expensive city there is. I'm in Brazil. I'm in the capital of my state, but trust me, cost of living here is way cheaper than if I was like in Los Angeles or San Francisco or like Berlin or something like that. So we're not looking for that much money, because we also don't have that insane track record, like numeric, like track record that people expect. And you can show like my team. Uh, not humble at all, like amazing people with awards and like veterans of what they do, but we don't have 100,000 wish lists. So that kind of puts a stop to a conversation that should be longer. You should want to know more. You should know about the originality, or about at the very least know the size of the market I'm aiming at, because I'm no dum dum. I'm 36 years old. I have a lot of experience, so I know my market share. I can tell you numbers that are actually interesting and appealing. They're not just they're just not $10 million, because it's not feasible for a small indie team to aim at that. They can make that sometimes, but we can't just pretend that it's likely. We want to be honest too. We want to be transparent too. So the chasm is weird.
It used to be that VCs would basically make 10 bets, and then 9 of them would lose money, and the last one would pay for the rest, all of them. But it has been definitely the case that everyone is not willing to risk anything and want just that one of 10 and never looking
Yeah,
for
exactly.
those. But let's talk about what's actually possible. So you mentioned crowdfunding, you mentioned kind of VCs investment. So let's say there's a producer, there is a small team, kind of people that don't have a name necessarily, but they got some skills. They can do a thing or two. So what kind of funding options are here for them?
I'm really a big fan of crowdfunding. Like I really, we're actually putting the Crows Requiem on crowdfunding in Brazil specifically. Soon, kind of a pre-sale slash help us fund the game kind of a thing, like support indie locals. But we did both our books before were done through crowdfunding, and like we surpassed by like 50% on both cases our need. So your audience, if you do have the wild thing that can like make you stand out, like we were talking earlier, and you believe that you have that, and you believe that there's a community who actually wants that out there, you're not just like, I wouldn't say just deep dive nose first into crowdfunding and bet everything on it if you're still not sure. And there are many, you're not going to be 100% sure ever, but there are ways to kind of feel the vibe, like have a social presence before, see if people are responding to it, try to get a gauge if people are feeling your idea. It's not easy. The algorithm is really tough right now too, but there are ways to kind of feel your way around. If you feel like it's there, like just go for it. Like be accessible. Going back again to how we talked, like be close to your community, listen to them, do live streaming, talk to people on chat, be on Discord, try to like, and I don't say it in the way that companies talk internally about like keep the user engaged. I'm saying like actually allow them to be part of the team in a way. People love that. People wanna They want to feel like they matter and that their ideas are being put out on the final product. Like they love it. Just the very idea of like having your name as a supporter on a game, it's such an incentive, to a lot of people. They just want to be part of it. They want to feel like okay, I got this thing going. I supported my locals, my local indie game dev community is stronger, or whatever the reason. Like just get people on your side, make them part of the family, make them part of the journey. And if you do have all that, crowdfunding is such a cool thing. Like it's such a cool tool.
In my experience, a lot of younger developers or even older developers that haven't necessarily done things on their own tend to be very scared of putting things out there. They usually don't want to put even social media posts, not even talking about Kickstarter campaign. There seems to be a real a fear of that. So, is there something you would kind of say to them?
I feel like any bad vibe you have about somebody supporting your project through crowdfunding should stop you from being a capitalist, because people buying your product is supporting you. That's how our whole world kind of decided at some point that we would connect with stuff that we like or need, is invest your money or invest your time. If it's content, stop and watch something, stop and read something, but you invest in anything that you like all the time. Just looking at a billboard is investing your attention on something. And crowdfunding is just in my opinion, one of the purest, most transparent ways to be invested on. Like people are just essentially buying your project, they're buying your game just ahead of time. They're buying your book or your comic book or your movie or whatever just ahead of time. They're part of the journey, again, like we were saying. So I feel like you're just on one level, you're just selling them what you wanted to sell anyway. You're just getting stuff change. You're just changing a little of the process. On the other hand, why not get people closer? Why not get people involved? And if they're willing to, instead of just buy the game, buy the next tier for $15 more to just get a Zoom call with you about something, like why not? Why not? I do have a lot of friends who are very, like, they are risk adverse, like creatives and artists who are risk adverse in the sense of like saving face. They don't want to do a campaign that could possibly not work, and that would humiliate them on some level. I see a lot of them changing their minds, like in the last, especially during 2025. I saw a lot of them getting way cozier and friendlier with the idea of crowdfunding, because they're seeing that the other way around is getting harder by the day. Like it is, at the end of the day, there's funding in a name. It's just a way to fund the project. So why do you need the venture aspect of it if the final client can just buy it from you and support the project? That would be my, I think.
In the end, there is a very little real downside to crowdfunding or something like this. Because we as humans really exaggerate it in our own head, where we're like, oh, someone will write me a bad comment and they will remember me as a bad creative for the rest of my life. But in reality, internet moves on and no one remembers you in 5 minutes.
It's way worse to get $1 million from somebody delivering a bad game and just flopping completely, and like getting people lose their jobs because of silly bad executive ideas. Like I rather not save face and just deliver well.
How do you look at AI in game dev? We kind of touched on it, but I would like to, not in game dev, in creative fields in general. How do you kind of look at it?
Yeah, man, that this is somewhere I still, honestly, I don't feel impervious to evolving my thoughts about it. But right now, as things stands, I don't like the fact that the first people we're trying to replace are creatives. I don't see how that makes sense. I feel like we're delivering slop on many fronts, on many creative endeavors. Like we're just being dictated. I'm not gonna name any names. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just saying that in general, I feel like we kind of forgot that art is by human and for human. And I'm using art as creative endeavors, like I feel like it's by humans for humans. I don't say don't use it. I'm just saying don't replace real people with real souls and references and stories and vibes, and like for the machine. Allow the machine to help us. Like I do a lot of research on AI. Like I do check it. Like I like that the thing is getting a little less crazy about what it tells me, and it cites fonts better. That really helps my work of like reviewing what the AI said. So AI has been great to do research. It is helpful in organizing your own mind, especially if the more chaotic you are as a creative, the more it will help you on that sense. Because sometimes it's just about like you're cooking dinner and you had a crazy idea and you just pop the thing and you start like unloading. Oh, what about this and that and that? And AI will turn it into like a clean little document that you can read later after your dinner and kind of get a feel of it. It's not going to be insane scribblings. Like I still write everything on notebooks. My notebooks are like insane, but AI does help with that. Like it's something that anybody later that you need to brief or like send it to a partner, to a dev, or to an artist. Like it's there. It's clean. It's easy for anybody to understand.
It sounds like you're using it to kind of augment yourself,
Yeah,
to
exactly.
get rid of your lowest sides or like your worst qualities, let's say, and augment those great qualities.
Exactly. I feel like it's there's a sense of like I don't look for things in a physical encyclopedia since I can Google stuff. Like I don't. It's very romantic to hold a paper encyclopedia, but I don't have that time. Like I have way too much to do that, so I can just Google it. So again, like I'm a fan of notebooks. I do it, but it's a me thing. I'm not preaching that to anybody else that doesn't need it, but like it is there. Even I do the crazy like, hey AI, and I just vomit ideas, and then I read it, and sometimes I go like, oh, I'm glad I organized this because this is not good. Let me just not save. Just by rereading the idea, I know it's not good. But so yeah, it's a tool. It's a delivery thing. It speeds the process. It does, like, coders ask questions, coders like use it a lot. Just don't lose the coder, don't lose the writer, don't lose the person with a soul, like again, that's a right now thing. That's a fear that I have, and I know that the industry have. Like if you just go through LinkedIn, sometimes it's just sad because it's amazing people looking for work, and like you kind of know that it's AI adjacent. The problem, it does come through it. So yeah, crazy times, still skeptical, but trying to do the best of a weird situation.
So you mentioned that a lot of the companies that are, let's say, overusing AI in its current state produce mainly slop. That a lot of the stuff that we see now is a slop, which I fully agree with. Do you think that perhaps the market will just kind of sort itself out eventually? There's obviously going to be a lot of suffering along the way with people losing jobs and all that. But over the long time, the sort of that people will appreciate the good work by people that are augmented by AI instead of just AI produced slop.
Yeah, yeah, I do think so. I think we already see it. Like we do see like backlash on people using AI on certain contexts. Like Claire Obscure was denied an award, an indie award, because they mentioned that they used AI, generative AI, at some point. So there is backlash. There is a sentiment, but it comes from the industry and not necessarily from the consumer yet. I'm not sure. I feel like the consumer is kind of catching up, but it's more the artists who get pissed than the people buying the AI stuff. For now, I feel like it's growing, it's spreading. But I read something very interesting. I wish I could cite the font, but I don't remember who it was. But it was like an article about the the problem with this is that usually when a market self-regulates about what's handcrafted and not, it becomes that the handcrafted is for the rich and the not handcrafted is for the poor. So like you and I remember it was the silliest of examples, but it connected so well in my head. It's like, so this means that people without a lot of money will only have those, like a Chinese produced AI pillow on their sofas because that's what they can buy, while the richer person has this handmade, crocheted in Switzerland thing for, and it's just a pillow on both cases. Like, do we really need the pillow? But that's not the point. Why the people with less income will not be able to buy something handcrafted or something at least human, not handcrafted, I don't mean it literally, but like made by people, and why do lower income people or entire countries may sometimes need to just settle for the mass produced, for the slop, while I'm quite sure that like richer people, millionaires, billionaires, are not going to be buying artwork to put on their walls that is AI generated. They will get the human person, and and if less people buy, it becomes more and more of a luxury commodity. So there are less painters because less people buy real paintings. So you know what I mean. Like until I read this thing, I never thought about for such a simple but like palpable angle. And yeah, that's kind of my thing. Like I do think the market is gonna sell. If nothing happens, if we just keep on this track, the market will self-regulate, but in a way that is kind of dystopian in my mind. It's kind of cyberpunky.
It may very well be. Yeah. Yeah. It there is parts of the world that very much are on their speed run towards cyberpunk now.
Yeah, for sure.
But we will see. We will see. It's all, and there is also so much regulation, and also now Steam is starting to kind of regulate as well because you have to mark the game as AI. A lot of platforms are moving towards it, not just the governments. So it's a huge mess right now, but no one really knows what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so right now you are running your own studio, so we already kind of covered what you do, but could you tell me what do you find the most challenging about it?
Right. Again, very much from my current situation, and let's say based on the last year, around the last year, uh, it is a tricky line to thread. How do you keep people engaged when for transparency's sake, they know you don't have a lot of money, like, and their lives are such mutant things. So somebody who's super motivated and like delivering like crazy because they believe in the project and this and that, last month, this month, they had less freelance work, and they're more worried about making ends meet, and the bills are coming, and they stop being engaged, or they stop, or even worse, thank God it's not our case yet, but it never happened to us, but like they start to really doubt the project. Like, yeah, I know I've been working for the last 6 months, but I'm not sure I want to do the next 6 months because I'm getting worried, because life is getting crazier, or I lost the other job that I had, whatever reason your life changes, your disposition towards quote unquote more passion focused projects, they do tend to change.
So could you tell me what tips do you have for people that would that try to do the same thing? They want to start their own indie project, but like you say, they are worried because they need to eat.
It kind of connects with the previous point of like, how do you choose your team? I feel like people who are aligned by passion are amazing, but if they just have that, the bad day might break them. If you want to have a studio, like, you don't want to be just I don't mean just as in less than, but not a collective. If you want to have a financial output, you want to put out products, you want to be viable as a company, you need to find people who have, yes, the passion, but also who see the project as commercially interesting, as something that even and sometimes you need to adapt the expectation into like, hey guys, things are not going amazing, but I still feel like this game is going to have a cult following. Like I feel like it's going to be such an amazing piece of portfolio. Like, yeah, that's a way to be invested in such a way that is so it's way less fragile than passion. Passion is amazing. It gets the best results, but it is breakable. It's not something that keeps companies going. I feel like it's startup. It's a startup feeling. It's not a company feeling. So if you have people who actually believe in the project and have that seed of like fire of let's roll, let's do it, then you have that's the person. And it might sound like a unicorn, like a special hard to find thing, but it's not that much because so many people want to be in gaming. Like using the games only as the example, so many people want to be in gaming, like designers who want to do UI for games, or voice actors, artists, 2D, 3D. A lot of people want to have a part in it. So if you find that right match that has everything we talked before, and the passion and the drive to make this a job, then you're set.
It sounds like you are kind of trying to find someone who is not exactly interested in it for the same reason like you. They don't necessarily care, or they may not necessarily care about the game, but they have some other benefit in it. Perhaps they want to get experience working in team, or perhaps they need a portfolio project or something like that. You just kind of try to find this intersection of interests.
Exactly. I feel like it's lines that cross somewhere, and where they cross, that's the person you want.
Okay, then Andre, we are at the end here, so please tell me and tell all of us where we can find out about more about you and about your game.
All right, you can look me up on LinkedIn if you ever want to chat. If anybody has like, I don't know, questions, or wants an opinion, or wants to share a challenge, or maybe I can try to help however I can, please come my way. I think Instagram and LinkedIn are the easiest to like actually reach me directly. But if you're interested in what we talked about and what we're trying to make, please come to Ignorantia is the name of our studio. We're everywhere, LinkedIn to TikTok, however you prefer. Check it out, the game. It's called Crow's Requiem. We already have wish lists open and a demo. We just updated the demo on Steam, so people can play like with multiple endings, moral choices. Some of the animation we're planning is already there on a beta version. So please check it out. Tell us what you think. Leave a wish list if you can. And if you're in Brazil, stay tuned because we'll have the crowdfunding, the pre-sale soon. And yeah, that's it.
Everyone can play your demo on itch as well, right?
Yeah, on itch we have the prototype. We saved it as a relic because it was the very first like fully playable version, and then you have the demo, like the proper demo, which you call a prologue.
Then
on
then I played just the prototype. I played a bit of it yesterday.
Yeah, let me know what you think about the demo later.
Yeah. No, I did like it. I definitely think it's interesting, and I did feel there a lot of pandemics vibes. I don't have a better way to describe it, but it did resonate in some way that only someone who went through pandemic, which almost everyone alive today went through, will feel. So it's interesting to kind of explore those emotions. But I'm looking forward to playing the actual demo, because I apparently played just the prototype.
Way better. I promise you, way cooler.
All right, so we should go to Steam. We're gonna, of course, leave links in description to all of this. So, all right. Thank you. This was lovely.
Thank you. That was awesome.